Hello everyone, myself Shivangi Desai, your instructor for the video series of data mining and business intelligence. Today's our topic is data reduction. So let's get started. Data reduction is the transformation of numerical or alphabetical digital information derived experimentally into a corrected, ordered and simplified form. The basic concept is the reduction of large amount of data down to the meaningful parts. Data reduction is the process of reducing the amount of capacity required to store the data. Data reduction can increase storage efficiency and reduce cost. Data reduction techniques can be applied to obtain a reduced representation of the data set that is much smaller in volume yet closely maintains the integrity of the original data. Now let's have a look at the reduction strategies. Data reduction strategies include dimensionality reduction, numericity reduction, and data compression. Dimensionality reduction is the process of reducing the number of random variables or attributes under consideration. Attribute subset selection is a method of dimensionality reduction in which irrelevant, weakly relevant, or redundant attributes or dimensions are detected as well as removed. Numericity reduction techniques replace the original data volume by alternative, smaller forms of data representation. These techniques may be parametric or non-parametric. For parametric methods, a model is used to estimate the data so that typically only the data parameters need to be stored instead of the actual data. Regression and log linear models are the example of parametric methods. Next is non-parametric methods for storing reduced representation of the data includes histograms, clustering, sampling and data cube aggregation. And the third strategy is data compression. In data compression, transformations are applied so as to obtain a reduced or compressed representation of the original data. If the original data can be reconstructed from the compressed data without any information loss, such data reduction is called lossless. Otherwise, it is called lossy. Now let's discuss dimensionality reduction in detail. Attribute subset selection is the method under the dimensionality reduction strategy. Datasets for analysis may contain hundreds of attributes, many of which may be irrelevant to the mining task or redundant. Leaving out relevant attributes or keeping irrelevant attributes may be detrimental, causing confusion for the mining algorithms which are employed. This can result in discovered patterns of poor quality. Irrelevant or redundant attributes can slow down the mining process. Attribute subset selection reduces the dataset size by removing irrelevant or redundant attributes. The goal of attribute subset selection is to find a minimum set of attributes such that the resulting probability distribution of the data classes is as close as possible to the original distribution obtained using all attributes. Mining on a reduced set of attributes has an additional benefit. It reduces the number of attributes appearing in the discovered patterns as well as it helps to make the patterns easier to understand. Now the question is, how can we find a good subset of the original attributes? For n attributes, there are 2n possible subsets. An exhaustive search for the optimal subset of attributes can be prohibitively expensive, especially as n and the number of data classes increases. Therefore, heuristic methods that explore a reduced search space are commonly used for attribute subset selection. These methods are typically greedy in that while searching through attribute space, they always make what looks to be the best choice at that time. The strategy is to make a locally optimal choice in the hope that this will lead to a globally optimal solution. Such greedy methods are effective in practice and may come close to estimating an optimal solution. Basic heuristic methods of attribute subset selection includes stepwise forward selection, stepwise backward elimination, combination of forward selection and backward elimination, and decision tree induction. So let's understand this method in detail. First is stepwise forward selection. The procedure starts with an empty set of attribute as the reduced set. The best of the original attributes is determined and added to the reduced set. At each subsequent iteration or step, the best of the remaining original attributes is added to the set. One such example can be seen here. Next is stepwise backward elimination. The procedure starts with the full set of attributes. At each step, it removes the worst attribute remaining in the set. Next is combination of forward selection and backward elimination. The stepwise forward selection and backward elimination methods can be combined so that at each step, the procedure selects the best attribute and removes the worst from among the remaining attributes. And the last method is decision tree induction. Decision trees were originally intended for classification. Decision tree induction constructs a flowchart-like structure where each internal node denotes a taste on an attribute and each branch corresponds to an outcome of the taste, as well as each external node denotes a class prediction. At each node, the algorithm chooses the best attribute to partition the data into individual classes. When decision tree induction is used for attribute subset selection, a tree is constructed from the given data. All attributes that do not appear in the tree are assumed to be irrelevant. The set of attributes appearing in the tree form the reduced subset of attributes. Now let's discuss numericity reduction techniques. Numericity reduction techniques replace the original data volume by alternative, smaller forms of data representation. These techniques may be parametric or non-parametric. For parametric methods, a model is used to estimate the data so that typically only the data parameters need to be stored instead of the actual data. Regression and log linear models are the example of parametric methods. So let's discuss regression and log linear model. Regression and log linear models can be used to approximate the given data. In linear regression, the data are modeled to fit a straight line. For example, a random variable, say for example y, which is called a response variable, can be modeled as a linear function of another random variable, say for example x, which is called a predictor variable with the equation y is equal to wx plus b, where the variance of y is assumed to be constant. X and y are numeric database attributes. The coefficient w and b, which is called regression coefficients, specify the slope of the line and the y-intercept respectively. These coefficients can be solved by the method of least squares, which minimizes the error between the actual line separating the data and estimate of the line. Multiple linear regression is an extension of linear regression which allows a response variable y to be modeled as a linear function of two or more predictor variables. Log linear models approximate discrete multidimensional probability distributions. Given a set of tuple in n dimensions, we can consider each tuple as a point in an n-dimensional space. Log linear models can be used to estimate the probability of each point in a multidimensional space for a set of discretized attributes based on a smaller subset of dimensional combinations. This allows a higher dimensional data space to be constructed from lower dimensional spaces. Log linear models are therefore also useful for dimensionality reduction since the lower dimensional points together typically occupy less space than the original data points. Log linear models are also useful for data smoothing since aggregate estimates in the lower dimensional space are less subject to sampling variations than the estimates in the higher dimensional space. Now let's discuss the methods of numericity reduction. Histogram is one of the methods under the numericity reduction strategy. Histogram provides a visual interpretation of numerical data by showing the number of data points that fall within a specified range of values. Histograms can display a large amount of data and the frequency of the data values. To construct a histogram, the first step is to bin, or we can say bucket, the range of values, which means we need to divide the entire range of values into series of intervals and then count how many values fall into each interval. The bins are usually specified as consecutive, non-overlapping intervals of a variable. Now let's understand this using an example. As you can see in this slide, the following data are the list of electronics prices for commonly sold items. As you can notice, all this data is already sorted in ascending order. The given figure shows a histogram for the data using singleton buckets, which means all the buckets represent only a single data item. To further reduce the data, it is common to have each bucket denote a continuous value range for the given attribute. Say for example, instead of showing each item using a single bucket, we can group the items in an interval. Like for price, we can specify the intervals like price $5 to $10, $11 to $15, and etc. Histograms are highly effective at approximating both sparse and dense data, as well as highly skewed and uniform data. The histograms described before for single attributes can be extended for multiple attributes. Multidimensional histograms can capture dependencies between attributes. These histograms have been found effective in approximating data with up to 5 attributes. Now let's discuss clustering. Clustering techniques consider data tuples as objects. They partitions the objects into groups or clusters so that objects within a cluster are similar to one another and dissimilar to objects in another clusters. Similarity is commonly defined in terms of how close the objects are in space based on a distance function. The quality of a cluster may be represented by its diameter, the maximum distance between any two objects in the cluster. Centroid distance is an alternative measure of cluster quality and is defined as the average distance of each cluster object from the cluster centroid, denoting the average object or average point in space for the cluster. Figure shows a 2D plot of customer data with respect to the customer location in a city. In the given figure, 3 data clusters are visible. In data reduction, the cluster representations of the data are used to replace the actual data. The effectiveness of this technique depends on the data's nature. It is much more effective for data that can be organized into distinct clusters than for smear data. There are many measures for defining clusters and cluster quality. Now let's discuss next method, that is sampling. Sampling can be used as a data reduction technique because it allows a large data set to be represented by a much smaller random data sample, or we can say subset. Suppose that a large data set D contains n tuples. Now let's look at the most common ways that we could sample database D for data reduction. The methods includes simple random sample without replacement of size S, simple random sample with replacement of size S, cluster sample, and stratified sample. So let's discuss each of this method. First is simple random sample without replacement of size S. This method is also called SRSWOR in short. This is created by drawing S of the n tuples from database D such that the size of S is less than the size of n, where the probability of drawing any tuple in database D is 1 by n. That is, all tuples are equally likely to be sampled. Whereas in the next method, which is simple random sample with replacement of size S, is also known as SRSWOR. This is similar to SRSWOR except that each time a tuple is drawn from database D, it is recorded and then replaced. That is, after a tuple is drawn, it is placed back in database D so that it may be drawn again. Next is cluster sample. If the tuples in database D are grouped into m mutually disjoint clusters, then an SRS of a clusters can be obtained. That is, simple random sample of S clusters can be obtained where the size of S is less than the size of M. For example, tuples in a database are usually retrieved a page at a time, so that each page can be considered a cluster. A reduced data representation can be obtained by applying, say, simple random sample without replacement to the pages, resulting in a cluster sample of the tuples. Other clustering criteria conveying rich semantics can also be explored. For example, in a spatial database, we may choose to define clusters geographically based on how closely different areas are located. Now let's discuss stratified sample. If database D is divided into mutually disjoint parts, which is called strata, a stratified sample of database D is generated by obtaining an SRS at each stratum. Here SRS stands for simple random sample. This helps ensure a representative sample, especially when the data are skewed. For example, a stratified sample may be obtained from customer data where a stratum is created for each customer age group. In this way, the age group having the smallest number of customers will be sure to be represented. This can be seen in the given figure. Now let's discuss next method, that is data cube aggregation. Imagine that you have collected the data from your analysis. This data consists of the electronic sales per quarter for the year 2008 to 2010. You are however interested in the annual sales, that is the total sales per year, rather than the total per quarter. Thus, the data can be aggregated so that the resulting data summarizes the total sales per year instead of per quarter. This aggregation is illustrated in the given figure. The resulting data set is similar in volume without loss of information necessary for the analysis task. Data cube are already discussed in detail in chapter 1 on data warehousing. Data cubes provide fast access to pre-computed summarized data and thereby benefiting online analytical processing as well as data mining. The cube created at the lowest abstraction level is referred to as the base cuboid. The base cuboid should correspond to an individual entity of interest such as sales or customer. In other words, the lowest level should be usable or useful for the analysis, whereas the cube at the highest level of abstraction is the apex cuboid. Now let's discuss the last strategy of data reduction, that is data compression. In data compression, transformations are applied so as to obtain a reduced, or we can say compressed, representation of the original data. Now there are two possibilities. One, if the original data can be reconstructed from the compressed data without any information loss, the data reduction is called lossless. And the second is, if we can reconstruct only an approximation of the original data, then the data reduction is called lossy. So that's it for this lecture. Thank you.